His words were carved into the side of the old space beacon near Proxima Gate, written in bold human letters and glowing Vey script. No one knew who put them there, but Captain Mira Kell did. And every time she saw them, her chest tightened like a storm was building inside. That had been 10 years since Earth fell. Mira wasn't even born when it happened. She grew up on Origa 7, a colony ship turned floating city, where people told stories of Earth like myths, green hills, oceans that touched the sky, cities lit by sun and laughter. But Myra had something most didn't. A memory of someone she never met. Her brother Jax. He wasn't her real brother. Not by blood. He was a rescue, one of the last children pulled from Earth's final evacuation. Found drifting in a cryopod, near Neptune, half frozen and whispering in a language no one recognized. The Vey had saved him. A small, quiet alien race from a water moon far beyond the Kuiper Belt. They raised him for 5 years, taught him their ways, protected him when the galaxy turned away. But when war came, Jax chose to leave. He wanted to find others like him, to rebuild what was lost, and he took a piece of Myra's heart with him. They were only kids then, 16, living together in the Care Dome on Origa 7 after the Vey brought Jax to the human fleet. He was different, quiet, thoughtful, always drawing strange symbols in the sand, humming songs that sounded like water and wind. But he made her laugh. He taught her how to listen to the stars, how to feel the ship's rhythm like a heartbeat. Then one day, he was gone. No note, no message. Just a single drawing left on her door. A hand reaching toward another with the words, "I have to go back." I remember. That was the last she saw of him. Now, Mira was captain of the Starwing, a fast scout ship used for deep scans and rescue runs. She was good at her job, sharp, calm under pressure, trusted by her crew. But inside, she carried a quiet ache, a distance she couldn't cross. She missed him, not just his laugh, or the way he'd tilt his head when he was thinking. She missed the way he made her feel like she mattered, like she was part of something bigger. And now, rumors were spreading. A signal had been picked up near the Vey homeworld, faint, encrypted, but carrying a human signature. The code matched old Earth military bands, and embedded in the transmission was a voice. Jax's voice. Myra had played it 100 times. If anyone can hear this, the Vey are under attack. The Kraal have returned. They're taking them, erasing their records, their songs. I'm trying to help, but I can't do it alone. If you remember, if you care, come. That last word tore through her every time. Come. But how? The Vey system was deep in uncharted space. Dangerous. Most captains wouldn't risk it. For a ghost and a maybe. And yet. Myra stood in the observation deck every night, staring at the stars. She remembered what the Vey had done. They didn't have to save Jax. They didn't have to teach him. They didn't have to send him to the fleet with a box full of Earth's lost music, its poems, its children's drawings. But they did. They saved one of us. And no one had ever come back to say thank you. Until now. Her crew noticed the change. She stopped avoiding the old archives. She asked questions about the Vey, their language, their history, their beliefs. She even learned to hum one of their memory songs, low and soft, like waves on stone. Why now? Asked Taro, her first mate. One evening. Myra looked out at the dark. Because someone I care about is out there, she said. And he's asking for help. But it's not just about him. It's about us. About what we are. If we don't go, then we've forgotten everything Earth stood for. Kindness, loyalty, memory. Taro nodded slowly. So we're going. We are. The Starwing wasn't a warship. It was small, fast, built for stealth. But Myra didn't plan to fight. Not yet. She would reach the Vey moon, find Jax, see what was happening. And if the stories were true, if the Crawl were destroying a peaceful people who once saved a lost child, then humanity would respond not for glory, not for land or power, but because it was right. 3 weeks later, the Starwing dropped out of warp. Near the edge of the Vey system, the moon was dark. No lights, no signals. Only silence. Then, a weak pulse from below. A distress call. Human origin. Vey encryption.jax.myra suited up. I'm going down. You'll be alone, Taro warned. I won't be, she said. I'm carrying everyone who remembers. She landed in a quiet cove where glowing algae pulsed under the waves. The air was thick and warm, smelling of salt and moss. And there, on the shore, stood a figure in worn armor, face pale, eyes wide with surprise. Myra? She pulled off her helmet. Took you long enough to call. Jax laughed, a broken, tired sound, but it was his dot behind him, the ruins of a Vey archive smoldered, their great library of light and sound gone. The Crawl had come, just as he said. They thought the Vey held secrets to eternal memory. They were wrong. The Vey's power wasn't in data. It was in care. In never forgetting a single life. Myra looked at the sky. Then she opened her comms to the fleet. This is Captain Mira Kell of the Starwing. I've made contact. The Vey are under attack. One of ours is here. They saved him. Now we return. She took a breath. We remember. A pause. Then, one by one, ships answered. Lights bloomed in orbit. The Auriga fleet was coming. Myra turned to Jax. Now, she said, we strike. The wind on the Vey moon never stopped. It moved like breath, slow, deep, constant, whispering through the coral towers and across the glassy shores. Mira stood at the edge of the cove, watching the waves shimmer with soft blue light. It had been 3 days since she found Jax. 3 days since she said his name again. And still, it felt like he was miles away. They were on the same world. They ate together. They planned with the few surviving Vey elders hidden in the underground. Caves, but something was missing. Not anger, not blame, just distance. Like a wall made of silence, .jax had changed. The boy who once laughed at bad jokes and drew stars in the sand was now quiet, guarded. His eyes, once full of wonder, now scanned the sky like he expected danger at every moment. He spoke little, even to her. When she asked how he'd survived all these years, he only said, I remembered what they taught me. The Vey, they had raised him when no one else would, taught him their songs, their ways of healing, their belief that every life, no matter how small, mattered. And now their world was broken, their people taken, their songs erased. Mira understood why he stayed, but she didn't understand why he never reached out. Why didn't you tell us? She asked one night, sitting beside him in the dim glow of a bioluminescent lantern. We could have helped sooner. Jax looked down at his hands. I didn't want to bring war to their home. The Vey never asked for the galaxy's attention. They gave me safety. I didn't want to repay that with fire. His voice was calm, but Myra heard the pain beneath it. She sighed. You didn't have to fight alone. I wasn't alone, he said. I carried them with me, every day, their voices, their kindness. When I felt weak, I remembered how they saved a lost human child, not because they needed something, but because it was right. Mira felt a lump in her throat. That was the thing about humanity, not the weapons, not the ships, not the speed of their engines. It was this they remembered. They held on to the people who helped them, even when the world moved on. And now they were here, More ships had arrived, not just from the Ariga fleet, but from distant colonies who'd heard the message. They saved one of us we remember. Now we strike. They came with medics, engineers, peacekeepers. Not an army of conquest, a force of return. Still, Jacques hesitated. He didn't trust the numbers, didn't trust the noise. He feared that in trying to save the Vey, they'd become like the Kraul, loud, overwhelming, careless. Mira saw it in the way he pulled back when new captains came asking for plans, for strategies, for glory. This isn't about winning, he told her. It's about honoring them. I know, Myra said gently, but we can't do it without help. Then let it be quiet help, he said. Let it be respect. She nodded, and she made a choice. Instead of leading with weapons, she led with memory. She gathered the crew and told them the real mission, not to fight, but to restore, to find the lost Vey archives, to protect the elders, to learn their songs, not just copy them. She sent teams to the underwater temples, where the Vey kept their history in glowing coral scripts. She had linguists work with the few survivors, translating their stories. She even helped rebuild a small memory garden, a place where light and sound came together to sing the names of the lost. And slowly, something changed. Jacques began to speak more. He showed the team how the Vey used harmonic pulses to grow food, how their music could calm fear, how they believed silence was a form of listening. One evening, he stood at the center of the garden, surrounded by humans and the last Vey elders. And he sang. It wasn't loud. It wasn't proud. It was soft, a lullaby the Vey used to sing to children, a song of return, of home. Myra closed her eyes. She remembered singing that same tune to him when he first arrived on Ariga 7, scared and alone. She had made it up just to calm him. But now he was singing the Vey version, deeper, richer, full of meaning. When he finished, no one spoke. The wind carried the last note over the water. Then, one by one, the humans began to hum. Not perfectly, not all together, but with heart. Jax turned to Myra. For the first time in years, he smiled. Thank you, he said, for coming, for remembering. You were the one who never forgot, she said. I just followed the trail. You left. They stood side by side, looking at the not in the sky. The Vey moon had no storms like Earth's, no thunder or lightning. But in the silence between Jacques and Myra, something was shifting. Like the calm before a wave that could either heal or break everything. They stood together on the observation deck of the Starwing, watching the fleet gather in orbit. Ships of all sizes, old colony vessels, fast scouts, even a few civilian transports that had joined the call, formed a wide ring around the planet, not for attack. Not yet. For protection, the plan was ready. A small team would sneak into the northern fortress where the Kraul held the captured Vey. No weapons, no loud entry. Just stealth, timing, and the one thing the Kraul never understood. Silence has power. But Jacques wasn't on the mission list. Myra noticed it right away. You're not going? She asked, voice low. He shook his head, eyes fixed on the dark side of the moon. I can't. Why not? You know the tunnels. You know their systems. You're the reason we're here. That's exactly why, he said quietly. I'm too close to it, to them. If something goes wrong, I might not make the right call. Myra stepped closer. You think I don't feel that way? You think I don't remember every second of growing up with you? Of waiting for a message that never came? Jacques turned to her, surprise in his eyes. Missed you, she said, every day. And when I heard your voice on that signal, I didn't just come to save the Vey. I came to find you. But you've been pulling away since I got here. He looked down. I didn't think you'd understand. Then help me, she said. Talk to me. Not the captain, not the hero. Just Jocks. The silence stretched. Then slowly he spoke. When? I left Auriga 7. I wasn't running from you. I was running towards something. Eve gave me a home when I had nothing. When I learned they were in danger, I couldn't just sit and wait. I had to go back. But I didn't ask for help because I was afraid. Afraid of what? That you'd all see them as just aliens. Strange, quiet, unimportant. That you'd come with ships and noise and call it rescue, but forget what they really need. Respect, not force. Mira nodded. I get that. And maybe some people would have done that, but not us. Not the ones who remember. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, smooth stone, gray with a blue streak, like the Vey moon's horizon at dawn. I brought this, she sighed. From Earth's last garden. Soil sample. We've been trying to grow something from it for years. Never worked. But the Vey looked at it and said, it doesn't need more light. It needs to be remembered. So they sang to it. Jocks stared. At her. They did? Yeah. And yesterday? A tiny green shoot came up. She smiled. Maybe that's what we're here for. Not just to fight, but to grow something again. Together. Jocks exhaled, long and slow, like he'd been holding his breath for years. I didn't know you kept in touch, he said. I didn't, at first, Mira admitted. I was angry. I thought you didn't care. But then I started reading the old logs. Saw how the Vey sent messages for years, updates, songs, even a drawing you made of us, labeled family. They kept trying to reach us. We just stopped. Listening. Her voice cracked. We forgot. And you were the one who remembered. Jocks closed his eyes. I couldn't forget. They taught me that memory is a kind of love. That if you stop saying someone's name, they start to fade. Myra took his hand. Then let's make sure they're never forgotten again. Come with us. Not as the lone hero. Not as the silent guardian. Come as Jocks, as my brother, as one of us. He looked at her for a long moment, and slowly he nodded. I'll go. But not to fight, to bring them home. The mission began at twilight. Using old Vey tunnel maps and Jocks' knowledge of the fortress layout, the team moved like shadows. No lasers. No explosions. Just motion, silence, and precision. Myra led the way, Jocks beside her, his breathing steady, his steps sure. They reached the holding chambers deep underground. Inside, dozens of Vey sat in quiet rows, their bioluminescent skin dimmed, their songs silenced. The crawl had taken their voice crystals, the living stones that held their memories and music. Without them, they were weak, disconnected. But when Jocks stepped forward, something changed. One elder looked up, then another. A soft glow returned to their skin. Jocks knelt and placed the earthstone in the center of the room. Then, quietly, he began to sing a Vey song of return, of light after long dark. One by one the others joined. The sound was soft. At first, like wind through reeds, but it grew. And as they sang, the walls trembled, not from force, but from resonance. The stolen voice crystals, stored in a nearby vault, began to hum, then glow, then crack, freeing their light. Crawl guards, trained for battle, had no defense against a song that reminded them of their own lost families, their own forgotten names. They froze, then stepped back. No shots were fired. No blood was spilled. The Vey were freed, not by weapons, but by memory. Back on the surface, as the first ship prepared to carry the elders to safety. Myra stood with Jocks under the twin moons. We did it, she said. He smiled, a real one, the kind she hadn't seen since they were kids. We remembered. She bumped his shoulder. took you long enough to come home." He laughed. "I never really left." And as the fleet lit up the sky like stars returning to their place, a message went out once more, clear, strong, and full of hope. Asterisk, not because nothing was happening. The fleet was busy. Medics tended to the freed Vey. Engineers worked to restore the damaged memory gardens. Ships came and went, bringing supplies, hope, and quiet voices from distant human colonies who had heard the message and said, "We remember too." But for Mira, the loudest thing was the quiet between her and Jocks. After the mission, he had pulled back again, not in anger, not in fear, but like a wave returning to the sea, slowly, gently, but leaving the shore a little emptier. He spent his days with the Vey elders, helping them rebuild their songs, teaching them how to use human tech without losing their way of life. He laughed more now, spoke more, even sang in front of others, but not to her. They ate together. They walked the glowing shores. They planned the next steps. But the easy closeness they had started to rebuild felt fragile, like morning missed that. Vanishes if you reach for it. Myra didn't understand. She thought saving the Vey would fix everything. That once he saw how much humanity cared, once he felt he wasn't alone, they'd be back to how they were. But people don't heal like ships. You can't just patch the hull and expect it to fly the same. One evening, she found him sitting, alone on a coral ridge, looking up at the stars. The new fleet comes were broadcasting across the sector, sharing the story. How humans had come not to conquer, but to repay a debt. How a lost child had grown into a protector. How silence had. Defeated Force. JAX wasn't watching the broadcast. He was tracing shapes in the sand, the same way he used to when they were kids. Mira sat beside him. "You never told me why you drew those things," she said softly. "Back on Auriga 7. Always stars, hands, trees." "Why?" He didn't look. "Pup, because I was afraid I'd forget." "Forget what?" "Everything. Earth. The Vey. You." He paused. "When I left, I thought I had to carry it all alone. Like if I didn't remember perfectly, it would all disappear." Myra nodded. "And now?" "Now I see I don't have to." He looked at her. "You came. You brought others. You sang their song. You grew their stone. You proved that memory isn't just one person's burden. It's something we share." She felt her throat tighten. "Then why do I still feel like I'm losing you?" Jocks was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Because I'm not staying." The words hit like cold water. "What?" "I belong here," he said, "not because I don't care about you. Not because I don't want to go back. But because the Vey gave me a home when I had nothing. And now they need help rebuilding theirs." Mira looked away, her eyes burning. "So that's it? You disappear again?" "No," he said firmly. "Not disappear. Return. Just not with you." She wanted to argue, to say, "You're my family. You don't get to leave again." But she stopped, because she saw it now, not distance from her, but duty to something deeper. He wasn't running. He was answering a call, like the humans who came when the Vey were in danger. Jocks was answering his own promise. Mira took a slow breath. "Do you think I don't understand that? That I don't know what it means to protect the ones who saved us?" "I know you do," he said. "That's why I trust you too. Lead the fleet. That's why I know humanity will keep its word." She looked at him. "And what about us? What about us?" He smiled, small, sad, full of love. "We don't have to be together every day to be family. The Vey taught me that too. Some bonds aren't broken by distance. They're just stretched." She thought of the tiny green shoot growing from Earth's last soil. How it didn't need more light, just memory, just care. Maybe people were like that too. You could visit, she said, voice soft. Or we could come here. The fleet can travel. We can keep in touch. Not just messages. Real talks. Shared songs. Shared stories. Jocks nodded. I'd like that. And when you need help, she added, you tell us. No more silence. Number. More going alone. I promise, he said. They sat in silence, watching the stars dot far above. The Auriga fleet began to move, not away, but into position. Not to leave, but to protect. Ships formed a quiet ring around the Vey system, not as conquerors, but as guardians. A new rule had spread across human space. No forgotten ally. No unpaid debt. And then something unexpected happened. A signal came in, not from a human ship, not from the fleet, from another world. A distant species, the Zen, who had once saved a human pilot lost in deep space. Mira stood at the edge of the observation deck on the Starwing, her hands resting on the cold metal rail. Below, the Vey moon glowed in soft blues and greens, like a dream half remembered. A garden was growing, real earth plants mixed with Vey coral vines reaching toward the pale twin suns. Children, both human and Vey, played near the singing fountains. Where water hummed old lullabies. It was peaceful. But Myra's heart wasn't. Jocks had stayed. He lived in the coastal village. Now, helping the elders teach the young ones their songs, their history, their way of quiet strength. He visited the fleet sometimes, smiled, laughed, even joined. A few meetings, but he didn't come back to her. Not really. They talked. They sent messages. They shared stories. But it wasn't the same as when they were kids, sharing a bungon. Auriga 7, whispering about Earth myths, promising they'd never lose each other. Now, he was building a life on this quiet moon. And she was captain of a fleet that had to keep moving, protecting allies, answering calls, keeping a promise. Alive. She missed him. Not in a loud, angry way, in a quiet one. Like the ache of an old scar when the weather changes. She'd see a drawing he once made, hear a song he liked, or catch a glimpse of someone with his walk, and for a second, the loneliness would rise. She didn't blame him. She understood. He had found his place, just like she had found hers. Understanding didn't make it hurt less. One night, she sat in her cabin, replaying an old recording, a message Jocks had sent years ago, before he left Earth's orbit. Just a boy's voice, shaky but strong. If I ever find a people who care when no one else does, I want to stay with them. Not because I'm running, because I'm returning. She closed her eyes. Returning. That word stayed with her. Because. Wasn't that what they were all doing? Returning. To kindness. To memory. To the people who once helped them when no one else would? She thought of the Zen, the Corvani, the dozens of species now sending messages, offering aid, sharing their own stories of helping lost humans or being helped in return. The galaxy was beginning to change, not by force, but by example. And it started with one act. The Vey saved a child, and humanity remembered. Myra opened the fleet comes. Not to give an order, not to report, but to speak from the heart. This is Captain Nera Kell. I'm not speaking as a commander today. I'm speaking as someone who misses her brother. She paused, letting the silence stretch. I thought if I found him, everything would go back to how it was. But people grow, lives change, and love doesn't always mean being close. Sometimes it means letting someone be where they're needed, even if it's far away. Her voice softened, but distance doesn't erase care. It just asks us to be more intentional, to reach out, to listen, to remember. She looked up at the stars. So I'm starting something new. Not a mission, not a war, a chain of return. She explained. Every human ship would carry a message. Not just of strength, but of gratitude. When we are helped, we do not forget. When we remember, we act. And when the time comes, we return. She ended with a simple request. If you were saved by someone who didn't have to help, tell their story. Share it. Keep it alive. Because memory is the first step toward action. The response was slow at first. Then came a message from Colony 12. A Saren ship pulled our life raft from a black storm. No one knew we were there. They risked everything. We remember. Then from Orion Outpost, the Mirel taught us how to breathe on frozen worlds. They gave us their last oxygen seeds. We return the favor. We protect their home now. One by one, stories poured in, not of battles won, not of empires built, but of hands reached out in the dark. Myra, read them all. And every time she smiled. Then, one evening, a private signal came through. JAX. She opened it with a breath. He sat by the shore, the waves glowing behind him. He looked tired, but peaceful. Hey, Mira, he said. I heard your message. About the chain, about missing me. He smiled gently. I miss you too, more than I say. Her eyes stung. I didn't want to hold you back, he said. Your place is out there, leading, protecting, showing the galaxy what we stand for. My place is here, helping this world heal, honoring the ones who raised me. He leaned forward. But that doesn't mean we're apart. I've started something. Here, a school. Not just for Vey children. For all who want to learn the old ways, of listening, of remembering, of quiet courage. Then he said, and I've left a seat for you. Not to stay, but to visit, to teach. To be part of it, in your way, from your ship, across the stars. Myra wiped her cheek. I'd like that. I know you're busy, he said, but maybe once a month? A call? A shared song? A story? She nodded. Every time. He held up a small stone, just like the one she'd given him. I keep this with me. Reminds me I'm not alone. Me too, she whispered. They sat in silence for a moment, connected by light across the void. Then Jacques said, You know, the Vey have a saying. Distance is only empty if you stop speaking. Mira smiled. Then we'll keep speaking, and remembering, and returning. Later that night, Mira stood on the deck again. But this time, her chest didn't feel heavy. It felt full. She looked up at the stars, not with sadness, but with purpose. The fleet was ready. New missions waited. The galaxy was listening. She opened the combs one last time. This is Captain. Mira Kell. The chain grows. The promise holds. The Vey saved one of us. We returned. We remember. She took a breath. And now we strike. Not with weapons, not with fear, but with memory. With love, with hope. Across the ships, lights flared in response. Across the stars, the message traveled. Asterisk, the message reached the outer colonies on a quiet morning, not through war channels. Not with alarms or warnings. It came as a song. A soft, rising melody. Part human voice, part Vey light harmony, carried on a repeating signal across the deep space networks. It opened with a child's voice, speaking in simple words. My brother left. I missed him, but we still care. Then another voice. They saved me when I was lost. I never forgot. And then a chorus. Humans, Vey, Zen, Corvani, and others, singing a single line in dozens of languages. We remember. Now we return. Mira watched from the bridge of the Starwing as the signal spread. She had sent it, not as a command, not as a call to battle, but as a story. Her story. Jacques' story. The story of a boy saved, a sister who searched, and a people who taught them both what it means to care. She didn't know if anyone would listen, but they did. Within days, replies began to arrive. not just from human colonies, but from alien worlds who had once helped a lost traveler, a drifting pod, a cry for help in the dark, a message from the Luma of Glintnine. 50 years ago, we found a human ship with one survivor, a woman with no memory. We cared for her. She taught us how to dream in color. Now, we join your chain of return. Then from Orbit 14, a deep space station. A Cyrenetics saved my life during the collapse. I never found her, but I've trained every medic here too. Honor her, we remember. One message came from a young girl on a mining colony. My dad says we don't owe anyone anything. But I found an old log. Our ship was saved by a V Scout during the storm years. No one knew. They just helped. I want to say thank you, even if it's late. Myra read them all, and each one made her heart heavier, not with sadness, but with hope. Because this wasn't just about JAX. It was about connection, about how one act of kindness, small, quiet, maybe even forgotten, could grow into something that crossed stars. But still, he was far away. She hadn't seen Jocks in months. They talked, yes, short calls, shared songs, updates about the garden, the school, the new children learning Earth rhymes and Vey lullabies. But it wasn't the same as having him near. Sometimes, late at night, she'd walk to his old quarters on the Starwing, now empty, kept as a quiet space for crew who needed peace. She'd sit on the edge of the bed, look at the drawings still taped to the wall, stars, hands, trees, and feel the distance like a cold wind. She wanted to visit, but the fleet needed her. New threats emerged, not wars, but crisis, a dying moon, a lost archive, a species erased from records. Each time the call went out, do we remember? And each time ships responded. Still, Mira hesitated. What if she went to the Vey moon and he didn't need her anymore? What if their bond had faded, stretched too thin by time and duty? One evening, Taro, her first mate, found her on the observation deck, staring at the star map. You keep marking that system, he said, but you never give the order. Myra didn't look away. I don't want to interrupt his life. Taro leaned on the rail. You think showing up means you're interrupting? Or does it mean you care enough to try? She frowned. It's not that simple. It is, he said gently. He's your brother. You miss him. He misses you. The rest is just noise. She turned to him. What if it's too late? It's never too late, Taro said. The Vey didn't wait until Earth was gone to save Jocks. They acted when it mattered. You should too. Mira was quiet for a long time. Then she gave the order. Set course for the Vey moon. 1 day stop. No mission. No agenda. Just a visit. When the Starwing arrived, there was no alarm. No formal greeting. Just Jocks, standing on the shore, watching as the ship descended. Myra stepped out in a simple jacket. No uniform. No rank. He didn't run to her, but he smiled, and when she reached him, he pulled her into a hug, long, tight, full of all the words they hadn't said. I was afraid you'd forget, he whispered. I was afraid you wouldn't need me, she said. He laughed softly. You'll always be my first family. They walked together along the glowing water. He showed her.